Value for our money. And nowadays, that's important.
Northwestern Mutual Life, the quiet company people have been talking about for over 100 years.
Southie, South Boston, has been in turmoil since last September. School buses have been stoned, a black man dragged from his car and beaten, a white boy stabbed in a racial brawl in South Boston High School. That led to the temporary closing of the school. All of this as a result of a court order ending segregation in Boston schools, directing the forced busing of black students into white South Boston and of white students out of Southie into black schools. The mood in South Boston today remains ugly. The threat of racial violence is there. But the people of South Boston insist they're not racists, only that they don't want their children bussed out of a neighborhood they love. 60 Minutes went to Boston to try to understand the town called Southie. The Mint Room in South Boston. Every Saturday night, Southie folks gather here to down a few and to sing along with the Irish volunteers. And the song they like best and sing most is this one.
How about our little song? A few of you may know it. If the others don't know it, you'll have to shut the hell up because it goes something like this. I was born down on Hay Street and made up on B Street. Southie is my hometown. There's something about it, real hit me to shout it to the top from miles around. We have doctors and teachers, lawyers and preachers, and from the old county down. They'll either take you or break you, but they'll never forsake you. Southie is my hometown.
There is one thing about the Southies, they are together. You see it in the Mint Room, in every South Boston barroom, every Saturday night. And you see it every Sunday at their anti-busing rally. A caravan of cars assembles on Sundays, almost 1,000 of them one Sunday last December, and 3,000 partisans from Southie move out behind a police escort for the drive to the Brookline home of Michael Dukakis, just elected Massachusetts' new governor. Dukakis isn't here, but that doesn't matter. The act of protest is satisfying all by itself. Unite, resist. This scene, by the way, is not without historical precedent. South Boston first earned itself a place in American history 200 years ago, one March night in 1776, when George Washington and 2,000 rebel troops fortified these heights against the Redcoats. The next morning, when the opposing British general saw what the ragged colonials had managed to construct here, he was said to have exclaimed, "The rebels have done more in a night than my troops could have done in a month," and he pulled out. South Boston was first of all a prosperous community of shipbuilders. The Yankee traders made their money here, and they built their substantial homes overlooking the waterfront. Behind them were the modest dwellings of the Irish, who came here in the middle 1800s to do the dirty work in the iron foundries that had sprung up. Today's Southies are the descendants of those original immigrants, hard people, rough. Their ancestors fled the famine of the old country to take jobs here that nobody else wanted. If they tried for skilled work, they were told no Irish need apply. Their poverty, their disease, their crime rates were astronomical. And then the Lithuanians, the Poles, and the Italians came to join them at the bottom of the heap, and South Boston was their Catholic ghetto. They were the niggers of Boston in the 1800s, and so they turned inward. Their lives revolved around the church, their fraternal clubs, and the taverns that dotted their forlorn streets. Slowly, their ghetto became an enclave, a place of pride and warmth and neighborhood and defensiveness.
The Irish fought their way up themselves. They didn't go looking to go on welfare, and they didn't look for free this and free that. They went out and they worked digging ditches, and they did anything they could to make a buck to bring their families up.
I'll tell you one thing, my Irish ancestors got nothing for nothing. Whatever they got, they earned. And so do my Polish ancestors, the same way. Now, these people are looking for something for nothing.
Southies loved their turf. We talked to a lot of them. Men in a bar, kids on the street, housewives, mothers, alumni of South Boston High School at their 30th reunion. And we talked to a South Boston cop.
The people here take care of one another. They take care of their property. They have a beautiful beach that they can walk along. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
And for years, they've been able to do that. And they don't want any changes.
Everybody stands together. Go next door to your neighbor. He'll give you a helping hand whenever you want one.
So they operate on me. They give me a 50-50 chance to live. While I was in the hospital having this done, all the people from South Boston got together and ran a tank for me. And something like 3,000 people showed up. And all the money they made, they gave to me to help pay expenses. It was really fantastic.
We care about each other. For years, we've lived together. We know each other's families. I went to school with Freddie. My mother was a friend of his. My children now know his children. This is the family, the feeling that we have, that we're all one family.
I don't think there's many spots in the country that have what we have here in Southie. And I honestly feel that somebody is trying to take it away from us.
You just can't stuff something down their throat. I think they're too intelligent in South Boston to just stuff it down their throat. You know, take a little kid and give him some spinach and say, "Here, eat this. This is good for you." If the kid doesn't like it, he'll throw it up.
They've had to fight for everything they've ever wanted. And I mean, there were so many different spots of history in South Boston where we had to fight, and that's just in us.
I think we're just going to have to keep on fighting until we beat it. There's no other way. It's wrong. There's nothing right about it. They could take all this money they're throwing into the cops and buses and this and that, and they could put it into the school, buy new books, new this, new beautiful, they could buy everything for the schools.
They give all the money to the niggas, just leave us
and they're throwing money away.
I went to South Boston High School myself, which is a public school, a tremendous school. It was my ambition. And I wanted to have my son go to Southie High, but he'll never make it.
We're not racist. We are not against the black people. We are against our children being forced out of the neighborhoods that we've worked for generations.
But the children are not being forced out. They're boycotting instead. At a South Boston street corner, the school buses stop to pick up Southie kids for the ride to Black Roxbury High School. But they leave almost empty. 535 Southie kids are scheduled to make the daily trip. 99% of them stay behind. Where do they go instead? To tutoring sessions around town, like this one at the Mint Room. A volunteer teacher labors to keep the kids up on their lessons, but the bar-room atmosphere doesn't make it easy. Not that the classrooms of South Boston High School are much better. They're old, beat up, dingy. In just this one classroom, there were a dozen beer cans scattered about, all of them but one whisked out of sight by a school official as we began to film. Still, it seems that everyone in Southie loves the old school. For them, it's the symbol of this year's agony. There's been trouble here since school began last September. There was trouble here the day we filmed in December.
We used to come last year. We'd go around, everything would be fine. No, we wouldn't have any trouble. Do you know now that when we go to another class, we have to check behind us to make sure there's no one behind us that's going to cause trouble.
Can't even walk in the ladies' badges.
There has to be aides, there has to be police up the school. There's no way to go to school. We're not used to this. And this is what's happening to us.
How can you learn with 400 cops in the building? Right up on the side.
There hasn't been this kind of tension in front of South Boston High School in some time. This morning, the white students held a caucus in the assembly. When they came out, they began to demonstrate. They were told to leave the school. There are only black kids inside now, and they're about to come out to take their buses to go home.
I believe the black people have lost from 50 to 100 years of advancement in Massachusetts because of the darn busing. And you live with these people, you love these people, and all of a sudden you begin to hate them because you say, they got what I have. The ability to go into the restaurants, the ability to go into any of the theaters, the ability to do all the swimming they want in the same area I'm in. They can fish where I am. They can boat where I am. What else do they want?
Charlie Federico is the patriarch of an Italian-Irish clan that has lived in South Boston for 43 years. He, his wife Mary Bridget, their daughters, their sons-in-law, their children and grandchildren gather in the Federico dining room on I Street at least once every week. The food is good and the wine. But after the meal, the night we were there, the talk turned to busing, and it turned bitter.
If they had a busload of Hungarians and they were jamming them down our throats, there'd be signs up there in Hungarian saying, hey, Hungarian, Ungul, or whatever the Hungarian is for it. Same thing. It has nothing to do with the race. It's the fact that they're jamming them on us. We don't want these people.
What your government is trying to do is put everybody on an equal level. If this ethnic group right here is not as educated as this ethnic group, they're not going to bring this one up. They're going to bring this one down, so everybody will be equal.
Right. Well,
and that's what they're trying to do right now.
Let me track it down. You got 200 ethnic groups in this country. You got people from all over the world.
Listen, the group that speaks the loudest is going to be placated by your federal government.
Absolutely.
And that's what's happening right
now. The wheel
now.
that squeaks the loudest always
right.
gets the most grief.
You have ethnic groups that have been
the loudest right now?
Discriminated against. Take your Indians.
You know,
for years. For years they're discriminated against. And take your Jews. They're people that have been discriminated against, but they don't say anything about it. They just accept it as a way of life. But because certain ethnic groups, blacks and Puerto Ricans, begin to start screaming and yelling, the federal government steps in and says, okay, baby, we'll pat you on the head and we'll make everything all nice and dandy for you.
Gene, has the black man been persecuted?
Has he been persecuted?
In this country?
No, he hasn't.
Definitely
You know what he has?
Absolutely.
No, he hasn't. You know what he has? He's been taught, he's been educated by his mother and by his father to live off of you and I. That's what he's been taught.
It's, you know, we're frustrated. Basically, we're frustrated right now. Our kids are not going to school. They're not getting an education. They're being deprived of their equal rights.
That's why I think you get
So they're taking out their frustrations on what's riding on that bus. And that's it.
Yeah, but they don't tell you what.
And it's not nigger.
No, it's no. I don't even use that word. I don't even use that word. They're Negroes or they're blacks.
Don't gloss a picture of it. You say it, I say it, he says it. It's nigger.
We all use the word. We've always used the word.
In South Boston today, they still use the word, and it's still not safe for a black man to walk the streets alone there. It's still not safe in South Boston High School without 400 policemen at the school all day. almost as many cops as there are kids. What's ahead for stubborn Southie? Threatened with the permanent closing of its high school, there's a movement now to form a biracial committee to get some kind of dialogue started between blacks and whites. The black parents and their children who were bused into South Boston have voted for it. White parents and students in Southie are still trying to make up their minds about it. They'll vote on it this coming week. 60 Minutes will continue to track the story. We hope to follow up with the black community of Roxbury, Southie's opposite number in Boston's bitter busing controversy.